Today we're out in the beautiful autumnal woodland. We've got some fabulous colours and we're going to be running through a couple of things that I just think are well worth a go. Loads of fun and can really enhance your photography trip into the woodland. Now you might be able to tell it's actually raining pretty heavily. We are right on the edge of a storm that is barracking in the UK at the moment called Storm Kieran. And the reason why I mention the weather is not only to explain why I'm going to be getting very wet, but also it's going to explain why I've got this thing on the front of my lens. This is a polarizing filter, and what that's going to help me to do in woodland photography, especially on a day like today where it is raining, is this cuts out reflections, and there's reflections all over the leaves, leaves on the ground, leaves in the trees, because of the rain. The light's coming back through the lens and looks pretty harsh. And by engaging my polarizing filter, as you can see on the video footage here, I can cut out all of that glare. It's also going to help enhance colors as well, which is exactly what I want in woodland photography. So if you do woodland photography and you don't have a polarizing filter, well worth getting. Now the colors of autumn are definitely beautiful, aren't they? But there's a fine line between beautiful colors and this kind of death colour that you get, especially in things like bracken and the ferns that are behind me here. Goes from that really lovely orange and the yellows that you see there to being this kind of brownish, not good looking colour that we got in the bracken and the ferns behind me here. But something about this tree actually really caught my eye. I think it's the bark and the texture. So the first thing that we're going to do on first shot today is go with something that we all have heard of. Is very much a Marmite technique. It is of course intentional camera movement, and normally when I've done woodland photography in the past, I've always kind of worked on the theory that you follow the lines of the trees, but on this one I'll try something a little bit different. So I'm going to line up the shot. I am shooting handheld. Let me just show you kind of what I'm seeing. So the tree on the right here is just beautiful. I just love, there's so much texture in this tree. It's fantastic. And so the tree, I kind of want to maintain all of that texture. I think the tree on the left I'm going to do the same with as well. Just keep nice and still, but I'm going to use intentional camera movement to get rid of some of that color, some of that clarity, some of that texture that's in the bits of the image that I don't like. I'm just going to twist my camera in order to try and deliver something that gives me the texture on the trees that I want and gets rid of some of the stuff that I don't. There we go, starting to get there. I'm getting absolutely soaked. I think I've missed my window of opportunity with this storm, but it does bring me on to the another thing that I just wanted to recommend. If you do kind of any kind of outdoor photography, actually, I'm using a weatherproof camera here, but for some reason Canon and the other camera manufacturers think it's not wise to supply us with very cheap and very easy to manufacture covers for our hot shoes on our cameras. I had a little problem a little bit of time ago with my 6D2, which got soaking wet through, and the camera itself was fine, but the next day I tried to attach a flash unit and it just wouldn't register with it. I got there in the end, got it dried off and sorted it out, but it did make me go out and buy several of these, and all they do is they slot very nicely in there and just give you electronics a little bit of protection. Well worth the money. Again, I'll pop a little link in the description down below, because if you do outdoor photography and you kind of get caught in conditions like this for $350 gives you a whole lot of protection for a small amount of investment. I've been playing around with multiple exposure now for about a year. I really enjoy it. Can get some fantastic, different looking images. And it's something that I've used in the woodland a little bit as well to just get different look. It's a bit of fun as much as anything else. I'm going to be doing it today in camera here, but this is something that can be done in Photoshop or equivalent software by using opacity and blending modes. What I'm going for today is I can do this in camera on this R6, and I'm going to be using the additive function in here. And what additive does is it builds the exposure as you take different images. But because we're in quite a dark woodland, I don't mind that. So I'm going to take a base shot of the bark of some trees, and then I'm going to overlay that with some shots of the colours of the leaves on the trees. I'll show you what I'm taking and then the result that comes out of camera as well. The great thing about multiple exposure ICM is there's no right or wrong, really. Completely up to you as the artist what you want to achieve with them. And so when it comes down to it, it's all just trial and error. It's all trying different things, what works, what doesn't work. And in the spirit of trying things out, I'm going to do something I've not tried before. I think I've found exactly what I'm looking for here in order to combine both the multiple exposure side of things and the intentional camera movement kind of things. I was looking for something with really tall tree trunks, nice and straight, a big bank of them, and I've got that here. I love the colours in the background here. You might be able to see through the trees. If we look just there, you can see some of the colours peeking through. We've got these greens as well as these oranges and these yellows. Just is lush. So it's this bottom bit really. What I want to create is kind of almost like a reflection element, reflection look in the bottom of the image. So when I might do ICM, go like that. But what happens when you do ICM like that in the woodland with trees like this is that they start to bend. The tops of them bend, and I want these to be really straight. So what I'm going to have to do is a straight, steady drop, which I might be able to do like that, but I do like to shoot with the viewfinder. So what I'm going to do is drop at the knees. Drop at the knees. So the second milliseconds before I press the shutter, I'm going to start the drop and then press it. So there's what the base plate, the back plate, the base image looks like, the static image. And this is what the ICM image looks like. Okay, now the shots that appear on here are quite dramatic, but I don't want it to be so obvious. Remember that twirly one? Really, really obvious. I'd used a ICM technique for that. Really obvious. But for this one, I don't want it to be obvious. I'd rather people look at it and go, that's nice, and not think about how I did it, but just the final image. Hopefully, and this is the difficulty with doing these YouTube videos, when you've not got a final image to look at and go, okay, that works. But hopefully this video is about to end with a worthwhile shot that looks like this.